I've tried over and over to give a chance to the DC animated movies. Some are better than others. And I'm talking about the recent ones that worked as adaptions of DC's New 52 universe that they made and then eventually abandoned. And they kind of followed it in the same way. They did the Flashpoint adaptation, which I prefer the comic book to the movie. And then the first two, the Justice League, how they introduced it and all that was fine. Again, the comic book is much better. Even though I was not a big fan of New 52, Justice League, when it started out, was a pretty good book. And Jim Lee's art with the new costumes worked better when Jim Lee did it than anyone else. Probably because he's the one who designed them. And then the one with Atlantis and all that. But then it just sort of kind of fizzled. There were aspects of them that I enjoyed. Justice League Dark was a adaptation of, the Justice League Dark series, which I enjoy, but it's more on the atmospherics and moods of it, which is very pivotal for Justice League Dark. It's supposed to be this supernatural world, and they're dealing with magic and all that sort of stuff. And it borrowed heavily from a lot of things that was reminiscent of Vertigo titles, which often dealt with supernatural forces and stuff like that, rather than just surreal stories and whatnot. It was kind of back and forth with those. But ultimately, it's like it never sealed the deal totally with me. But the adaptation of it, the film, animated film they did, was okay. Well, all of that came to an end, apparently. That version, that era, and I guess they'll move on to other things. And, of course, they were still doing their adaptations of other things, Gotham by Gaslight and all that, which I did not like. I did kill it, but I'll say, I like the book, yes. But I just don't, and of course they had to stretch it and all this. I would have thought maybe an anthology of stories that, so you wouldn't have to stretch it as much, but they're needing to add material to stretch out for a full film is probably what really hurt Killing Joke, which is this brilliant story, but their adaptation of it was just awful. But their cohesive narrative, whether like this was a replacement, if you will, of the Justice League series that they did, in the 90s and all that, coming out of Superman and Batman animated series, which was absolutely brilliant. It was so good, and I think that they peaked, and that's it. They were never able to reclaim it, and it's never gotten back to that level. Even when they adapted the art style for a film and all that, I was like, well. So it comes to an end, apparently, with Justice League Dark Apokolips War. So it's more or less centers, John Constantine takes center stage, and so that's why it's called Justice League Dark. But for the most part, it really isn't. It's mostly him and some of the characters from it that he runs into and all that. But the intriguing aspect of it was people described it as like, hey, you know what? The plot sounds an awful lot like the plot leaks of Justice League 2, the film that Zack Snyder was going to direct to follow up his Justice League. That is the Snyder Cut. This plot was not a part of that unless they're reworking it as we speak. I don't know. But the Justice League 2 plot involved the Justice League. They discover the threat of Darkseid at the end. They were supposed to, anyway, in Justice League. And so the sequel is, and I believe this was Batman's idea, was to take the offensive and eliminate the threat of Darkseid. And so they find a way to go to Apokolips to defeat him and get their asses handed to them. And so the movie ends on something of a cliffhanger. Sound familiar? So the third movie is how they use the Speed Force with Barry Allen, time travel and all that to undo what happened. And it ties in to the vision Batman had in Batman vs. Superman and all that. And that would wrap it up with a bow. So that was the plot for Justice League 2. So in Justice League Dark, the elements are there of that plot, but it's not the plot of the film. The film deals with the aftermath, of course, of what they do. So in this version of it, Superman has decided they need to take the offensive against Darkseid, and despite people, including John Constantine, trying to talk him out of it, he's determined. And so Superman seems to hold the position that Batman holds in the cinematic, the live action film, if you will, that would have happened and may still yet, if all goes well with HBO Max and Zack Snyder's Justice League. So. But that's about it. So, what the same idea happens, they storm into Apokolips, but Darkseid's waiting for them. He's able to spy on them through Cyborg, unbeknownst to poor Cyborg. And a lot of them get killed. He wipes a bunch of them out. He captures some of them. Batman's enslaved. Superman is tortured and infused with kryptonite to where he can't have his powers anymore, and he's just sort of allowed to go free, but he's doomed to look at the what he wrought as the Earth is conquered and all that. So eventually he and Raven apparently team up to recruit John Constantine in order to take back the world from Darkseid. Well, of course they do. But along the way you get a little tour where everybody is, and then there's supposed to be these gags of Etrigan, who is also so depressed he just stays drunk all the time, and he can't even rhyme anymore because the rhymes are hard to come up with. So here's the device as to why he does it. And John Constantine himself is crushed and ruined, and he blames it all on Superman, but in the end he blames himself. Although he's right to blame Superman, because Superman was pig-headed in this. It was his idea and should have known better. But anyway, they lost. But Zatanna dies in the battle. And right when she's being attacked, Constantine wusses out and teleports away. He leaves her there to die. And he's guilt-ridden over this. Well, later on he discovers that wasn't his choice. She manipulated him to do that because she didn't want him to die or something along those lines. And then they try to connect it up with Barry Allen. And here, of course, if you'd seen Flashpoint and you got the films, but that's kind of how it plays out. Like these are episodes of a TV series where it ends. Ultimately, all of a sudden, it's the Flash's movie, and he has to solve everything by once again traveling back in time to change time, even though that's what created the New 52 universe in the first place. Although in the comics we've learned it was actually Dr. Manhattan did it. So that's how they resolved that. So it's all over because even though they defeat Darkseid with using Raven's father, Trigon, which he's. They can't be two evil rulers, so he fights with Darkseid, and a lot of it was just, well, it just sort of works out, and it kind of falls apart in my way of thinking. There are elements of it that are okay and good, but it just doesn't come together. And in the Flash, just, well, it doesn't matter, I'm just going to change it all at the end. Because the Earth was so badly defeated that even though they beat Darkseid, it was a sort of a Pyrrhic victory. There was really, everything was too badly destroyed, and they don't have the power necessary to restore the world. There were some things about, they had this, I don't know if this was in Teen Titans or not, that Robin and Raven are an item, and I mean the Damian Robin. I guess that when they Ring 52 did it, she's closer in age to him than she would be in the original, because then she would be closer in age to Dick Grayson, so that wouldn't really work out. But here she's still a teenager and all that. So okay, but they're both kids with dark sides, get it? And so they come together and so on and so forth. But ultimately Superman gets his powers back and punches away and whatnot, and Batman, through the power of love of his son, is able to shake off the anti-life equation's dominance of his mind, and all of that stuff. And same thing with Wonder Woman, who had been turned into a cyborg monster, but she comes back to her senses. It's and ultimately everyone's all messed up. So even though they won, they lost. So of course the Flash has to fix it, and that's it. I don't think they're going to do a follow-up where the Flash wakes up in a new world. It's just, oh, everything's changed again. No, they're just they all looked at the sunset as Barry Allen disappeared into the Speed Force, and that's it. So I guess that's how that works out. But so yeah, the only really interesting thing is, yeah, that plot of what happens when they take the war to Darkseid and then they lose. Then you got, again, well, what do you know? Time travel's the only way to fix this. So yeah, so that's the only intriguing part about it. But what I should have done was not buy the movie, but just wait, because now it's available on the DC Universe. So I'm sure you know it. If you haven't, you can watch Justice League Dark Apokolips War if you so desire. But can't quite recommend it.
Alright, thank you for watching and listening. Why not like and subscribe, and check out that link description below. That'll take you to my mini stores and have plenty of goodies for you. You know, hats, mugs, stickers, posters, all that goody stuff. Plus, you can head over to IndiePlanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book Night Night. Oh, yeah. Plus, you can also catch my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, over at RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on my channel at BitChute. That's the Mr Nailsin channel on BitChute.com.